feminist or non-feminist. I do not want to be in any kind of labels, but then it's important to define yourself, otherwise people will ask, what do you do? And then you don't have an answer. So that's why you have to say, I'm a feminist, I'm a writer, I'm a photographer. I would prefer to not have any labels at all. I'm just Sanjukta Basu, just an individual. I want to ask you before I start talking, how many of you looked at this schedule today and thought, rape? How many of you actually thought that? She's talking about rape. Okay, not bad. Let's be honest. It's not easy to talk about rape. It's not a comfortable word. It's so uncomfortable that we do not use it in our coffee table discussions. When we type special characters. When we talk, we beep our sounds. Much as vagina is, again, another very difficult word to talk about. But Eve Ensler started talking about vagina 15 years back. And that has led to a movement today. If you do not know who Eve Ensler is, please Google it. Find out about 1 Million Rising campaign that's going to happen on 14th of February across the globe. Both very important issues. Google it and find out. So I thought Eve Ensler was talk about vagina and talk about rape. And this is the time to talk about rape. This is the place to talk about rape because, you know, every gathering we have, we must talk about the women issue. We must talk about the issues that only affect the women, no matter how uncomfortable it becomes. So I'll deal with some of the things that we have all read about in the recent past 1 month after the Delhi gang rape incident happened, and I would address a few of them and some of my own opinions. So how to I? Okay. Yeah. So like I was saying, not easy to talk about it. I'll start with the etymology of the word. In the late 15th century, the word meant, the rape word, is to abduct or to take by force. And as time passed, today in the modern usage, it defines, it conveys a criminal act of sexual penetration, sexual violence. But besides the medical and the legal definition, there is also a social construct attached to the word rape. And that is, we all know, shame, dishonor, and silence of the women or of the person on whom the act is done. In India, rape is not gender neutral. It can only happen by a man to a woman. However, in many countries, it is gender neutral. When the recent incident happened, news and opinions started coming from all directions. And one thing that I noticed, and you all have noticed, is that we tried to give her a name. There was Nirbhaya, there was Damini, there was India's daughter. There were many names that were coming up. Let's not do that. Let's not give convenient, pretty, feminine names to hide our discomfort in the brutal reality of the fact that there was a 23-year-old girl who was raped, brutalized, and then left to die. And she eventually died. She did not survive. I know there's a whole fashion of calling the girl a survivor. I would call her a survivor if she did actually survive, but she died. So let's be honest, she's a victim of the brutalization. So the first thing is that let us not try to hide our discomfort in the reality or in the word. Let us take the word every time and let us remind of all the brutality and of all the shame. Having said that, I realize there is a need for an identity of the victim or the survivor because every day millions and millions of women across the globe are being oppressed, are being violated, but they have no faith and they have no identity. And this whole invisibility of this entire clan of victims and survivors is what is keeping this issue behind the doors, what is keeping this issue not a popular issue to talk about at any gathering, any event, any conferences, any forum. So we need an identity to represent the cause. This is a problem. When we have the media reporting about rape, that's what we have. We have a woman or a girl sitting in one dark corner, hiding her face, feeling miserable, feeling shattered, and just broken. That is wrong. We do not, question why should a rape survivor or a victim hide her face and run and be in shame. Rape, why can't we treat rape as just another crime? Our money gets stolen, we don't feel ashamed. We go on the road and we get hit by somebody, we don't feel ashamed. But, why should, the girl is raped and she's feeling ashamed. She cannot talk about it. There's this whole, there's a silence about it. Why? Somebody decided to take my money without my permission. So that's not of shame. Somebody decided to hit me without my permission on my body. That's not shame. But somebody decided to take control of my body and sexually penetrate me. That is of shame of me. That should not be my shame. That should be of the perpetrator's shame. We can treat rape as a crime of the body. Now look at the law. What the law does is that it categorizes rape as a sexual offense. You have murder, hurt, grievous. I'm talking about the Indian Penal Code, but it's pretty much the same in most of the criminal jurisprudences. Murder, hurt, grievous, hurt, etc. are offenses related to your body, offenses against your body. Theft, robbery, cheating, misappropriations are offenses against the property. But rape is a sexual offense. The heading says sexual offense, and then there is rape, and then there is sodomy, section 377, which we all know is now kind of eased out in case of homosexual rights. My point is, we have to treat rape as a crime of the body, of the consent, of force and violence, and not about sex. Sex has to be taken away from rape. Rape has got nothing to do with sex. Rape is never about one thing. There are many reasons why rape happens. It's never about one thing. It's about power, it's about violence, it's about oppression, it's about one man's way to confirm its superiority over women. It could be about revenge, it could be about anger, it could be about fun, but it's never about sex. So let's take out sex and the shame would leave automatically. Now we have to, when the recent case happened, everybody had an opinion. And everybody was giving out ideas why such a level of violence had happened. What is it that is causing this that causes 6 men to be so violent, so brutal? There were all kinds of opinions coming out from all directions. People jumped on the item numbers. First thing, we do not want the item numbers. I say leave alone the item numbers. There's nothing wrong with the item numbers because item numbers and item girls are about sexuality of the women. If you read the item songs, the dance, and the character, the girl, the Munnis and the Sheilas, into the narratives of the film, what you have is that here is this girl Sheila who is dancing about her Jawani, very happy in front of all these men, and she's very powerful. She's not miserable. So, if you think that Sheilas and the Munnis are the problem, again, you're thinking that women are the problem. Their dresses are the problem. The way they dance is the problem. The way they sing is the problem. Women are not the problem. So do not tell the Munnis and the Sheilas what to do, or what to wear, or how to dance, or how not to dance. Tell the men what they cannot do. They cannot rape. So if the Sheila and the Munnis get out on the stage and go to the local bar, the men cannot rape her. That's just not their right. Nothing invites rape. So leave aside the Munnis and the Sheilas. When we talk about objectification of women, now this very fashionable term, objectification of women. Women are being commoditized. You have to understand the concept of consent within the narrative of objectification of women. If you're saying objectification of women, you think that's a problem. First you have to ask, was there a consent in the women being objectified? Now there can be objects, a cake, a chocolate brownie, or a very delicious, let's say, a tiramisu is an object kept at the baker's counter. And you won't eat it. But you can't eat it unless you have money. You have no right to break the window of the baker's and take that object. So even if you think the woman is an object. You cannot take that object unless you have either the right on that woman or you have the power to buy that woman. So, we're talking about, yes, women being objectified, yes, there is sex work happening. There is a community of sex workers who do it out of their own choice. There is trafficking, of course. So, even in sex work, you have to understand the concept of consent. If a woman wants to be commodified and objectified, that's okay. It's her choice. So, always remember the idea of consent in that. And when you talk about item girls, I don't know why item boys are any good. I spoke about the narrative. So when I say that the narrative of a Munni, in the movie, is that the girl is a sexually empowered girl, and she's talking about her sexuality. The narrative of the men in a movie, let's say like Garam Masala, in the song, if you recognize it, Akshay Kumar and John Arban. The narrative here is that the man is aspiring to be with many bikini-clad women. That is the problem. So, if you think the women is being objectified, the women is objectified in both ways. One way, she is doing it out of her own choice, and in the other scene, it is the man's aspirations to have many women next to him, along with cars and guns and other gadgets and gizmos that men fancy. So, leave alone the item girls, leave alone the item boys also. I'm not saying that even they are the problem. What we just cannot have is this scene. Violence, depiction of violence against women in a movie, in popular culture, in serials, should just be a big no-no. First of all, there should be no violence. Second of all, even if there is a violence, because we're telling the story of a woman where she has faced, let's say a movie like Bandit Queen, where the part of the story is important. We cannot have a hero-worshipping narrative where a miserable woman is being violated, and her only way to savior is a hero jumping from the roof, flexing his muscles and saving her. No. We don't need these scenes anymore in our movies. Enough of these scenes in our movies, let's talk about language and abuses in movies. I recently saw the movie Machu Ki Bijli Ka Mandola, and the movie started with a whole lot of warning signs like smoking is injurious to health, alcohol is bad, this is bad, that is bad. So this thing went on, and then there were other disclaimers that even if we have, every movie has that, even if there is scenes of smoking is injurious to health. So I say, before the movie starts, we should have a line which says, even if because of the need of the movie, we are using abuses like MC and PC, they are a big no-no in real life, you cannot use them. Because think about it, what are these abuses? We say them incest. We're using them all the time. But what are these abuses? But again, violence against women. Two men fighting with each other, trying to get even with each other, and saying, I would ruin your women, I would ruin your brother, I would ruin your sister, I would ruin your mother. The mother and the women and the sister has got nothing to do with your fight. And yet you're saying that you would ruin them. Why don't you fight with yourself? Why are you talking about the women? Because the women are again seen as properties of the men. Because in a land-based quarrel, you burn down the crop. And in a riot situation, you rape the women. In a wartime zone, again you rape the women. A rape is the manifestation of the ultimate defeat of the enemy. The rape of the women of the enemy is the manifestation of the ultimate defeat. That's why when you want to hurt the enemy, you want to hurt the enemy's women. So, no, none of these things can exist in our popular culture. And these are very rooted. That's Sunita Krishnan. She's the founder of Prajwala Foundation. And she was gang raped. She stood in front of the TED India stage when I was there. And she spoke to a hall full of 2,000 people about her rape, about her feelings, how she felt, how it was not so much of the rape that had angered her, but the taboo and the reaction of the people around her that had angered her. So, these are the faces of the real rape survivors, and we need to tell these stories. Now, that is my urge to women, to girls, to rape survivors, to the families of victims who are no more there, to talk about the stories. It is very important to tell these stories because, every woman's life is a political field, and we have to assert our rights every single day. When Jimma told me about talking to on this forum, I could have spoken about anything. From law to social media to photography, I have 10 things to talk about. But I chose this because I thought this is a great platform because I knew nobody else would talk about it. So I thought this is a great platform and this is the right time to talk about it. Every woman's life and my own life, I treat them as critical field to talk about rape, to talk about violence, to talk about women issues, women rights. And it's important, more important to listen to the rape stories because there are questions that we never have any answers unless it is on us. Questions like how fast, how soon it was for her to overcome the trauma. What happened in her family? How did people were talking to her? What were her friends telling? Did they ask her uncomfortable question? If she had a boyfriend before the incident happened, did he continue being with her? Or did he, if she got into a relationship later, did he tell him about her past? If she did, was he comfortable? Was he not comfortable? Did he bring up uncomfortable questions? These are questions that we absolutely have no idea. And I think the more we would start talking about it, the more the taboo would go. The more number of girls would talk about it, more the taboo would go. Now coming back to my personal experience of this very violent, brutal incident of the lead candidate. When it happened, I wanted to write my own piece on my blog, as I always do. But I just could not gather my thoughts. It was running in all directions. It was very haywire. I was angry at everything, at so many things, like from the patriarchy to the preference of male child to everyday, little things that tells you that women are inferior than men, to the objectification of women, popular culture, Bollywood, violence, this, that. It was a plethora of things that I had in my mind. And then suddenly the news came that she was died in Singapore. And I felt that all my questions and all my thoughts had suddenly stopped at me. Because I felt that I could have been me, could have been that girl. I could be dead. One day I was there and the next day I'm not there. I could be dead. And I thought that had it been me, if I was dead, what would I really want to ask myself is, did I actually live those 23 years that I lived or not? That's more important to me. So I want to ask, did I really live those 23 years of my life, each day feeling proud to be a woman, each day chasing my dreams, listening to no one else but my own heart, even at the cost of being the bad girl in the family, जो किसी की नहीं सुनती है, बड़ों की इज्जत नहीं करती है, even at the cost of being whiny in front of my friends, did I always unconditionally refused to suppress my dreams and my feelings and my emotions, even at the cost of being called ill-behaved and bad? And did I always reject every notion that was thrust upon me because I was born with a vagina, because I was a girl? There is no other reason why there should be any construct कि आप ये नहीं कर सकते हो, आप वो कर सकते हो, except that, I was born as a girl. And the only way to, define is by my vagina. So, bringing back to Eve Ensler's vagina to my, rape stories, that's all that I want to talk about. Ask these questions to yourself and remember to live every day as a proud woman without any conditions, without any kind of suppression. Rebel every single day, rebel every single time. People would call you boring, people would call you spoil sport, but rebel every single time. And on this stage, before I just get down, I would make a small rebel. When my previous speaker said that if you are a girl, you would make a better choice. Unless you were a girl, you would make a better choice at the shopping. That's a gender construct that I object to. And you have to object to each such zestful jokes around the gender construct. Women cannot drive, women are bad at shopping, yet all the hit and run accidents are not done by women. All the hit and run accidents are done by men. I went for shopping when my sister's wedding was happening. She took half an hour to decide her lehenga, and he took 3 hours to decide on his coat. So refuse to accept every single gender construct, even at the cost of being boring and whiny. And the girls have to do it. The men would never do it. Trust me, the men would never do it. The girls have to do it. Thank you.